Have you ever noticed how history is just littered with heroes who become villains, revolutionaries who promise freedom, but once they get power, end up building a whole new kind of prison? Well, today we're diving into a really fascinating and frankly pretty unsettling theory that tries to explain exactly that.
Right, let's just get straight to it. This is the big question. Why does that dream of a better, more equal world so often sour into a nightmare of oppression? It's a pattern we've seen happen over and over again. It's almost predictable.
And look, if you think this is just some abstract philosophical idea, check out this quote from Vladimir Lenin. This is a man who championed the worker, who promised power to the people. But just a year after the revolution, here he is ordering public hangings. This is the paradox in black and white, and it is brutal.
So, to really get our heads around this, we're going to walk through 5 key ideas from the source material. First, we'll define the paradox itself. Then, we'll look at a wild biological reason for it and ask if it's a cycle we can even break. After that, we'll explore a pretty radical AI solution. And finally, land on the critical choice that we as humanity apparently have to make.
Okay, so let's start with the heart of the problem, what the author calls the liberator's paradox. It's all about that predictable journey from a dream of freedom to the nightmare of total control.
The argument here is that this isn't some unfortunate accident. It's practically a law of nature. The author concludes that anyone, no matter how pure their intentions are at the start, who gets to the very top of that power pyramid will inevitably switch their focus from serving the people to just serving their own power. Keeping it is all that matters.
But why? Why does this keep happening? Well, the source suggests it's not about politics or economics, but biology. It calls it the herd instinct code. Basically, we have to look at the animal that's still lurking inside all of us.
So what is this herd instinct? You can think of it like this deep, ancient software running in our brains. It says that the leader of the pack, the chief of the tribe, instinctively believes they have the right to control everything, even the lives of others in the group, if it means keeping their top spot secure.
And here is the real gut punch. The author is saying this isn't a bug in the human system, it's a feature. Power doesn't just corrupt, it flips a switch. It activates this ancient hierarchical program that boils down to a very simple idea. I am the boss, you are the fool. And that primitive logic just bulldozes any noble ideals that came before it.
And this mental breakdown, this collapse of a leader's humanity, it seems to happen in 3 predictable stages. First, their power and resources become basically unlimited. Step 2, because that power is now everything, everyone else becomes a potential threat to it. And finally, Step 3, the lives of regular people get devalued. They're no longer individuals, they're just statistical victims, numbers on a spreadsheet that can be sacrificed for the so-called great goal of holding on to power.
You can see how this leads to a pretty bleak conclusion, right? I mean, if this whole thing is hardwired into our DNA, is this cycle of revolution leading to tyranny just unbreakable? Are we just trapped by our own biology?
And this chart just lays it out so clearly. On the one hand, you have the promise. Every revolution promises equality, freedom, and justice. But the reality, according to this theory, is that our herd instinct takes over and delivers the exact opposite. Fear, subjugation, and a system where the only real goal is to keep power at all cost.
So the main takeaway here is pretty stark. It doesn't matter what the ideology is, communism, nationalism, you name it. It doesn't matter who the leader is, the story ends the same way. All revolutions do is change the flags and the slogans. They don't touch the real problem, that deep, underlying biological algorithm of power that always kicks in at the top.
Which brings us to a huge, looming question. If all our human solutions, new laws, new constitutions, new isms, are all destined to fail because they slam into the wall of our own programming, are we just doomed? Are we stuck in this endless loop forever? Is there any way out of this trap?
Just when things seem completely hopeless, the author throws a massive curveball. Having argued that the problem is biological, the proposed solution is, well, non-biological. This is where we get into the wild, almost sci-fi idea of AI governance. But hold on, before we can even talk about the technology, the source says there's a critical first step, a global awakening. Humanity has to look itself in the mirror and just admit it. Our biological wiring makes us fundamentally incapable of creating a truly fair and humane system of government on our own. We have to admit we've failed.
Now I know what you're probably thinking. Skynet, right? Robot overlords. But that's not the idea here. The concept is for a humane AI, It's not a dictator. It's described as a moderator of harmony, an impartial system built from the ground up on a formula of balance and justice, totally free from that corrupting herd instinct.
Let's just put them side by side. On one side, you have the human leader, who is ultimately, whether they know it or not, driven by that primal herd instinct to hang on to power. On the other side, you have this theoretical humane AI. It's driven by a programmed formula for balance, and its only goal is to create harmony for everyone, not dominance for one person. And this all leads us to the final, urgent point. The critical choice the author believes humanity is facing not in some distant future, but right now, within the next 10 years. We are standing at a crossroads. Today, right now, we're starting to recognize this paradox of power. The argument is that this next decade is the crucial window where we have to decide what to do about it. Why? Because AI is developing and it's heading down one of two very, very different paths.
And these are the two futures laid out for us. Path 1, AI becomes the ultimate weapon of control. It supercharges the herd instinct for a new elite, creating a level of oppression we can't even imagine. Or, Path 2, AI becomes the platform for that fair, harmonious governance that humans, on our own, have never been able to achieve. The choice, the author says, is ours to make.
So you see, the ultimate challenge isn't about coding or processing power. It's psychological. It's about us. Can we as a species consciously decide to rise above our most basic deep-seated instincts, our herd reflexes, to choose a better path?
And that's the provocative question we're left with. Do we stick with our flawed, biologically programmed humanity, knowing full well where it leads us time and time again? Or do we take a massive leap of faith and hand over the reins to a humane machine, one that's designed for the balance we just can't seem to find ourselves? It's a heck of a choice, and it might be coming sooner than any of us think.